on the water, an adventure around this great brown land and beyond. We're going to have a look at vessels and watercraft, from manpower to wind power, and we'll even crank it up with horsepower. So strap on your life jacket and get set to get wet on the water. Grant Cosgriff, CEO of Rowing Victoria. How long have you been the CEO?
3.5 years, Tim.
What type of initiatives are in the pipeline at Rowing Victoria?
It's funny leaving now because I've had to start making big lists of what's going on and what's happening into the future. But our biggest one at the moment is that we're about to employ a state development coordinator to look at developing rowing talent across regional Victoria and primarily in schools that currently don't row. Rowing certainly is a sport that probably up until now has been limited by where you went to school. If you went to a private school, you probably had the opportunity to row. You may not have, but you at least had the opportunity. Whereas to the general public and potentially to someone going to a high school, the opportunity is not there. So our state development coordinator is going to be employed, and their big role over the next couple of years is to do that and to have a targeted identification process for the talented kids to show them the pathway through to potentially the Olympics.
Using a footy term, what are you going to be doing for grassroots rowing?
Well, that's our next big initiative for the next couple of years is to focus on that. We've been supported by the State Government of Victoria under their funding grassroots sport, which came out of the post-Commonwealth Games funds. And that's the employment of a State Development Coordinator, a very detailed program of making rowing available to the wider community, particularly targeting the youth age group at this stage. But that'll roll out over the next 2 years with aims to have greater representation at underage level at the National Rowing Championships, and then ultimately have greater representation at national selection trials, and therefore more youth-aged rowers selected on Australian rowing teams. And that's part of the pathway towards senior representation and the Olympics.
Some misconceptions about rowing. Is it an upper echelon type of sport? How are you going to bring that back to the general public?
Anyone can walk into a rowing club and sign up and learn to row. Part of learn to row and part of our programs is also to increase the understanding of what rowing's about to the wider community, and it is about precision teamwork, and it is about working together. And one of the things about rowing is that as soon as one link in the chain breaks down, the whole crew and the whole teamwork aspect really falls apart. So people learn a lot about themselves and their ability to be part of a team through rowing.
Well, we have seen a very high-profile public case of, when one link falls over, but certainly the comradeship and the teamwork is absolutely imperative.
Yeah, look, and there are guys who have rowed together for 50, 60 years that still row together now, and it's like people in all sports can get those friendships developed from working very closely together over a period of time to achieve some sort of success.
What would you most like to see on the show, and for entertainment value, what would you most like to see me have a go at?
More rowing, definitely, because you had 2 goes at rowing so far. The one on the water was an absolute shambles, and the one off the water, you're nearly the first person ever to fall off an ergo. So, look, Tim, from our perspective, I think you need to come back and row more often. Our slogan as a sport is row for your life. You can row until you're 89, like one of our masters was last weekend at the Masters State Championships, and you can row for your life in terms of your fitness. So you always talk about the fact that maybe you need to improve your fitness. So perhaps Scotty Riddell at ErgFit, or maybe seeing you at one of these Learn to Row programs in the Melbourne Head in the next little while. I think that's what I'd like to see on the show.
So I'd like to thank you, the viewer, because without you, on the water just doesn't happen. So whether you're sailing over the horizon or even over your local pond, a bad day on the water is better than a good day at work. See you next time.